Hi. In the last video, we have seen how you can access a cluster using cluster admin role. You can create a cluster role bindings, and you can access a cluster. In this video, we will see how you can create the default Kubernetes dashboard, or else how you can access the default Kubernetes dashboard, and how to set up all the things. So if you don't know, there is a default dashboard present for the Kubernetes, which provided by the Kubernetes itself. Just go to the Google and search Kubernetes default dashboard, and you will find one Kubernetes official link where from here you can download the components like the YML files to enable this dashboard. So in this video, we will set up this Kubernetes dashboard. We will create a service account so that we can access this dashboard. Okay, so the dashboard looks like this. I have already connected my jump server or jump machine as a, and my credentials are cluster admin, so that I can do anything on the cluster basically. So right now this is the default namespace which is present. So if you go to the dashboard, go to the link, you'll find there is uh, one YML file. So I have already set up couple of YML files over here. This file I already have downloaded, but if you want to download it, you can just, I have just removed this one, so you can just go to this link and copy this link. I'll give this website link and also this file link in the description, so you can find it easily. So get, and here it's the file is downloaded. Now we can the simple thing, we just need to apply this YAML file to create the dashboard components. Um, so let's just create this dashboard. So you see there's a lot of components automatically created after deploying this recommended to YAML. We'll go through this YAML files in certain part which is required. Like one namespace is created, one service account is created, a couple of secrets, config maps, a couple of RBAC role binding, cluster role bindings, and a couple of things have created. So let's just check. You see there is a Kubernetes dashboard namespace has been created. So let's see what inside this one. Oops. So this two things are running. One is metric scrapper and another one is Kubernetes dashboard. So this is the one who will serve the dashboard. So now, let me say, how do I access it? Like how do I know? So now before, so the each and every component in Kubernetes, as you know, are exposed by services like the cluster IP or node port ingress, load balancer. There are different kind of services which provided by Kubernetes to expose the internal component. Now cluster IP is the default one, which is only accessible inside a cluster, inside this cluster. So let's just see what are the services present right now in our cluster. So you see, these are the service right now is present. This is a namespace where it's created. So if you see, this is the namespace which we created. So let me just filter out for this one. Not for all namespace. We don't need this one. So only two cluster IP are present currently. So means even if we created the dashboard, we are not actually access the dashboard currently. So we need a method to access this dashboard, because the type you can see is a cluster IP. So cluster IP can be only accessible inside the cluster, not to the outside of the cluster. So you can't access this IP and this thing. Here, among these two services, one is the important one, which is the Kubernetes dashboard. You can see the 443 is listening. So this is the cluster IP where our dashboard will be served. Now, What we will do is that we will not gonna use this clustered IP and anything to access this dashboard. We'll create a node port which will point to the pods of the Kubernetes dashboard. So this is the namespace. Let's see what the pods running. I already showed that one few minutes back. These are the two pods are running, which is Kubernetes dashboard. So what we're going to do is that we're going to create a node port which will point to this pod basically. To do that, we need to check something in the recommended.yml, which we have downloaded just now. So let's just vi this thing. Okay. So this is the YML file which I have downloaded. If you see, there is a namespace we are creating, a service account, services. Now, this service, if you see, this is one of the most important service which is exposing. So the service, if you don't mention anything, it's by default a cluster IP. So the service is listening on 443, which is the HTTPS, and target port is 8443. Means this service will listen on 443, and it will transfer the traffic to a 8443 port where this this selector will be matched. So what does it mean is that there is some deployments on pods running with this level, this Kubernetes dashboard, this thing, and those are listening on 8443. And this cluster IP, what it's doing is that it's listening on 8443 and transferring the traffic there. So how we are verifying that one? So if you go down there will be a deployment thing. Role bindings, deployment. Yep. This is the deployment. If you see the container port, container is listening on 8443. So the service is passing the traffic to 8443. Now, what we can do is that I have already created some files over here. The dashboard noteport.yml, so that I don't have to write in the middle of the video. So let's just go through this file. Oops. Again, wrong. Yeah. So here I have created a YAML file to create a node port. The kind is service, the API version is v1, and I'm giving a name as dashboard expose. We are exposing the dashboard. You can give any name you want to identify, and namespace. So it will be created on this namespace, like this Kubernetes dashboard, so that it can be on the same namespace. Select now the selector thing. So this selector, what it does actually, it checks where this key and value are matching for those pods. Suppose you have 10 pods, out of 5 pods having a level of this K8s app and this Kubernetes key and value. This is a key and this is the value. So this service, what it will do is that it will check for all the pods running in this namespace, and where this key and value are matching, and it will transfer the traffic to those pods only. Okay. Now this node port is the target port, means what is the container port number? Container port is 8443, and the cluster IP, which is listening, it's 443, and the node port IP. So node port IP means the machine IP, machine port number, where like the raw VM, you can say. In my case, it is this one, the worker node. So what I am saying is that this particular service, this thing, it will transfer the traffic to 8443 to those containers, and the port, the default cluster IP port will be 443, and the node port will be 30300. If you know there is a particular range of node port, you cannot mention any other than that range. Like you cannot mention 9000 as a node port. There is a particular range. You can check in the documentation. So yeah, our node port will be 30300. Cluster port number will be 443, and container port number 8443. So me just quickly close this one. I will give a link, or I can paste this configuration in the description for your reference. So let's just apply this thing also. So see, we have created a service, a node port. Let's see. You see, we have created a node port. This is the cluster IP. The cluster IP is 443, and the node port IP is 30300. So um, this is where it's listening on the node itself. Okay. Now what we can do is that we can access this dashboard by the public IP of the VM, the worker node, and this port number. Now, before accessing that one, make sure you have your security groups, or if you have a firewall, or if you have anything, any firewall, anything, just make sure you allow that port number. Okay. Now just duplicate that tab and enable the security groups for this port number. So if you have gone through my previous video, you have seen these security groups I have created. So not this one. Let me choose this one. Let me change the inbound rules. Here you need to add a rule. So the custom TCP. So you need to mention the port number from where you are accepting the traffic. So anywhere in the world, like 00. Save rules. Now let's copy your now I have one master and one worker node. That's why I'm just copying the worker node public IP. If you have a couple of other like 3 4 worker node, just make sure just check and where the like you can make sure your pods are running on all those nodes. If a pod is running on a particular node, you need to copy that public IP. So I'm just copying this public IP, pasting it, and this one. Now it will show you an HTTPS error. So now if you have not mentioned the HTTPS, it will show you that server is expecting a HTTPS connection. You are sending an HTTP, so make sure you type HTTPS. I have already typed, so it's showing automatically. Now it's not a CA authorized, CA verified, so it will show like this. You need to click on advance and continue. Yeah. So default dashboard has been loaded, but you don't have anything to access it, right? Like you need a token, you need a service account or a token to access it. Now, as I told before, so one part is done. We have created a dashboard. We have created a service to access the dashboard. Now we need to create a service account so that we can generate a token with that service account to access this dashboard. Now I have another file over here, which is this dashboard user. So here what I have written, let's check step by step. So we're creating a service account, which is kind, and I'm giving the name as a dashboard view. And where we're creating in this namespace, like Kubernetes dashboard. And this means we are going on a separate thing. Instead of creating multiple files, we can write multiple YML configures in the same file, just like the recommended.yml. So next, what we're doing is that we have created a service account. Now we are creating a cluster role binding so that our service account can access cluster wide details, or authorized to get the cluster wide details. This makes sense. So this kind is a cluster role binding. You can check the previous video to know more about this. And we're giving a name. You can name anything: dashboard, view, RB. So I'm giving role binding. API group is this one. It's a cluster role. Name is view. So this view role is automatically by default present, I believe. You can check. So it only authorized to view things. It cannot modify. And subject means where this role will be applied. It will be applied on a service account. Name of the service account is dashboard view, and where it is situated, it's situated on this namespace. So let's just apply this thing. See, we have created this service account and cluster role binding, but we need a token, right? So if you go to the previous command, the service account name is dashboard view. Yep. Now we need to generate a token. So for that, we just get the screen. So there is a command to get a token. kubectl this is the command. If you kubectl create token, request a service account token. So you can mention that token, the service account name, and also you need to mention the namespace name, and also the expiry time duration. So I'm gonna do that. Okay, dashboard view. This is my service account name, and it will be valid. I think the what is the, so you can do anytime the help and check duration. Okay. Oops. Okay, suppose 15 minutes. So this token has been created for the service account which we have just created. So you can copy this one and paste it over here. Okay. Now your dashboard is accessible. You can check. This is your dashboard view service account. You can go to the workloads. Can check for select for the all namespace and see what are the things are deployed. So you can, there is a, where is this pods thing? Yeah, here is a pods. So you can click on this one, and you can see the details. That's all. So now remember one thing, if you have while setting up the, let me show you, while creating a service account, if you have chosen a role binding instead of a cluster role binding, the namespace which role binding is namespaced, like it requires a namespace. Cluster role binding or cluster role does not require you a namespace. Okay. So if you have mentioned while creating a role binding on roles, you need to choose that. You can only see that namespace. Okay, you cannot see other than that namespace. So other than that one, in this way you can access a Kubernetes dashboard. Now, I have already a, mm, let me check if this works or not. Yeah. So if you see, just so if you see, this is my domain cloudster.in, which I have already purchased 3 months back, and here I have created like this dashboard I have mapped. So now if you, now I don't access like this normal IP wise. So what, so if you want to do like this domain mapping, so for that I will give you a quick suggestion. So if you have bought a domain, map at first in route 53, and then map to a private your like VM in EC2. Okay, and then create a subdomain, and that is, and map that same to that same VM, and install nginx and forward that to this this IP internally. Okay, instead of using public IP, you can use internal IP to, where is our public IP? Yeah, so you can just proxy pass this thing to that from your jump server. So that's all for this video. You can create a dashboard. You can set up a dashboard and access the dashboard. You can create a cluster admin role to modify this thing, because if you want to add any resources, you can see you cannot upload it because you have only view role. You have, if you create a service account and the name of cluster admin, you can obviously create, delete everything you can do. That's all for this video. I will give a link of this this file and this configuration file which I have set up already in the description. If you have anything to ask, you can drop a comment and reach out to me. That's all for this video. I will catch you on the next video. I don't have any plans. Okay, yeah, see you then, bye.